And my son has just started at an American university, and his first week he has to decide what to study. And his professor told him what he's got to study is Spanish and Mandarin. He said, why? He said, Spanish so he can speak to the gardener, and Mandarin so he can speak to the boss. And I think there is an absolute reality, it's a serious reality, that China is moving from a manufacturing base into genuinely a first world economy. And when you go around China, one of their party tricks at the moment, because they've all been told this, is on TV all the time, is they take your phone from you and they point at the back of the phone and they say, look, it says made in China. And they say, next year it'll say created in China. And that I think is the big challenge for us, that they recognise that they want to move up the intellectual property ladder. And so I don't know how we're going to respond to that. It's going to be challenging, difficult. Because the businesses that most of us are now in today are going to be in direct competition. You know, most of us are not actually manufacturing fridges at the moment, but what we do, we're going to have to face a different level of competition.
I mean, we've got 3 offices in China. We invested in China many years ago, not just in terms of investing into the Chinese economy, but also we saw the opportunity of taking European businesses and US businesses and being able to use our local contacts to be able to develop their sales, etc. And I think the lesson that we learned is you've got to have people on the ground. Don't think you can be the kind of man from Del Monte arriving at the airport in your English suit and saying, right, show me to whoever it is. I think that's the easiest way of catching a cold. The interesting thing I think though that's happened, and I was out in China a couple of weeks ago, is it's now coming the other way. So there is investors in China at a meeting with one who want to buy European companies to expand them in China. And I think that's where the great opportunity is in China, and that is the consumer. There's no doubt that as standard of living's rise, there's a huge pent-up demand of products and services. That I think the challenges are around more wage inflation is starting to make China less attractive to move your production to. I think the other factor that you often come across is the loss of IPR. So you can set up a factory in China and find that there's another factory down the road making the same thing but with a different brand on it. And I think that's something that I know China is very kind of conscious of, but you can't get away from the fact that that is just, it's an entrepreneurial society, that is just going to happen. So you know, if you do start moving your production out that way, you've got to constantly innovate, because it comes back to core competencies again. If you've moved your core competency out to China, you will lose it. It's as simple as that. So you need to be very clear about what it is you're outsourcing out there. But I think I come back to the opportunity in terms of the size of the consumer and the growth in the consumer is something you just can't ignore.
Yeah, I'd say it's a big beast, and I'm not going to comment on China because Skype has a traditional love affair with China, which I shouldn't comment on. But the region of APAC, we've got local people there, local people drawn from industry, who've been based in places like Philippines, Singapore, China, Japan for years and years and years. You've got to have your own people there. You've got to get there often as a senior team if you're serious about the market. I'll give you an example. If we could crack China as an example, that would do our numbers inside 6 weeks. So there are billions of people out there, and they're very, very hungry people. Consumers are waking up to all sorts of new ideas. With that comes all the challenges that you've just referred to, but the reality is that you've got to be able to commit long term as well with partnerships in China, that they really test your ability to go long. And sometimes you just got to be able to walk away. Although it's a massive opportunity, it's kind of a Pandora's box. So go slowly, dictate the pace yourselves, use local people, and try and build it one step at a time. That's where we are with it.